So I'm somewhere close to 10 o'clock, and I'm just pivoting this. Hi y'all, welcome to my shop. Today we got a fun project. We're going to turn this little box. It's got a really easy fit, made out of Spanish cedar and Bradford pear, but you know, lots of woods will do just fine. Let's go ahead and get started. We're going to start with this piece of wood. I'm not sure what it is. It's very hard. I think it's some type of exotic. Could be red heart. But anyhow, I previously turned it around. It's very, very dry. So the first thing we're going to do, I'd already had a tenon on it, so we're just going to slip it in the scroll chuck. Approximate what I think the bottom of this box is going to be apart. So I'm going to do that. Spice type of smell. Could be Spanish cedar, I'm not sure. In which case it's not as hard as I thought it was. And I'm going to turn this side down, just chamfer it in just a little bit, this shape. Put a little mark with a center there. That'll give me a pretty good idea of where to start drilling from. And we'll use a hand drill. Okay, so I've got a little mark here. We're going to use a hand drill. Going to brace it a little bit here. Get it down to about 1,000. Kind of hold it in there. A little bit off center. So I think I'm going to start all over again. Can't get us a little better center. Bring this back, and I've got a couple of scratch marks on here. So I've got one here, so I know it's almost halfway between. That'll give me a pretty good feel. Alright, we're going to hollow out center now, so we got to get the tool rest where we can cut on center. And we're going to come in from the center and sweep out. And we're going about 1200 speed. I'm somewhere close to 10 o'clock, and I'm just pivoting this.
So before I finish hollowing, I recognize the need to shape the outside a little bit in order that I can do the rebate for the lid. So I'm beginning to take down a little bit on the outside and shape it down toward what will be the top of the box using a 3/8 inch spindle gouge. And I come in from the back side and shape it a little bit to the back side before I finish the hollowing.
I'm going to use pretty much a dedicated box scraper for that, where you come in flat. It's sharpened it at less than a 90-degree angle. It's beveled a little bit, maybe to about an 80-degree angle on each side. And just come in with this parallel. We're not going to go very deep. Maybe right out there. I think that's about how deep it is now, before I go too much further. Make sure it's nice and smooth. Examine it before I go any further. Yep, that looks good. Now all I got to do is go back in here and do some hollowing. I need to drop the tool rest just a bit. Swing from here. right tool to come up under here. And I think this tool will do it, this Dale Nish style scraper that I can get under there, and then I'll come back, clean that up a little bit. Probably need to move this back just a little bit, get a little bit more of the wider part of the tool on there, because there is a little bit of torque. Just ease it down, roll it up just a little bit toward maybe 1130. Okay, still got just a drill hole there, I can feel it. I use this little bit of a depth gauge here. Let's see. So I can transfer the inside to the outside, get an idea. And you can see that's just about where it ought to be. I could go a little bit deeper because I'm going to tuck this under. So I've got this round scraper I tend to use, and cut it right on the center and around. This is not a negative rake scraper, so I have to have the handle lifted up and the tip pointed down when I cut on it. And this is called a negative rake position. Ease it in, not pressing very hard. Wasn't cutting right on center. If I get those two cuts to meet. Yeah, that's feeling good. Feeling is very important. I don't need to look in there. I can feel it. It's nice and smooth, but I want it to get a little thinner. But I'm going to taper this down, so I don't need to get too thin at the bottom, but I can come up under here just a little bit more. Check the bottom. Don't want the inside to get bigger than the outside. Alright, so that's right about where I want. So I'm going to mark that very clearly with a parting tool so I can shape down to it. Air compressor here, my mouth. Flashlight to give you, so you can get a little better view in there, so you can see what a nice polished view I got with that scraper pretty much. Right, now I'm just going to bring this back just a little bit with this box scraper. Okay, I can clean that up with a bit of sandpaper, but that looks good. Okay, so now I've got a fresh edge there. I can kind of get the bottom a little bit around the side. And that works very well. Sometimes it's tough, it's problematic. Put your fingers in there, you got sharp edges. Now I want to leave these edges nice and crisp. I don't want to round them over because I want that level of detail. So now this Spanish cedar has some fairly prominent pores, so I'm going to seal them a little bit with this lacquer sanding sealer, cellulose sanding sealer. and it dries so very fast. It's a great finish for boxes if you don't want them too shiny, because it does dry fast. I'm going to come back and probably sand that. I'm not going to put it on the inside there because I don't want it to smell. I'd rather leave that smell of the actual Spanish cedar. I'm just going to trim the outside here a little bit, and maybe get right here. Now I'm going to come back and polish this up with a product called Dr. Kirk's Scratch Free, F-R-E-E-E, from Craft Supply. It's similar to I think that Yorkshire Grit and U-Butte AAA. We're going to put that in here. And just polish this up a little bit. Like I say, this should leave a somewhat satin finish, except this scratch free will make it probably a little shinier. And I'm happy with that finish. I don't see any scratches, and it looks good. Alright, I'm going to part this box off, being careful when I get near the bottom. I'm going to get rid of this large area so I have a little more room for my parting tool. So I'm just going to come in here and waste wood. Now I can get in there, and the parting tool I'm going to use is this Robert Sorby with the little fangs, and that has a tendency to shear those fibers and it'd get a fairly clean cut, cleaner than I could otherwise get with a thin parting tool. And I'm going to come in there and just concave it just a little bit, and I might switch to an even smaller, thinner parting tool. So I'm just going to ease behind till I touch the wood. Again, before I go too far, I'm going to back up, take another pass. Rather than chase this across the floor, I think I'm going to use a thin parting flush cut saw. I'm just going to ease up there with this. And that reduces the chance of any shredded, pulled fibers leaving too much damage. And we'll be able to reverse chuck this. Matter of fact, I think I'll probably use this and go ahead and clean up the bottom. Quarter-inch parting tool, make it a little easier to get in there. And we're just going to, I'm going to bring the handle slightly forward. You can't really see that. This is 90 degrees of the lathe, and I'm swinging it forward, getting just a little bit of chamfer on that front end so I can do a trial test. And that's just about got it. Then I can bring the back behind it parallel by going almost straight in and know where to stop. And that's running very true. I think it'll hold it snug enough for me to just take a bit of a pass on the bottom with a very sharp tool. I'm going to use this very small detail gouge because it will not put very much of an edge on the wood, so it'll be very little friction, and I should be able to come right on across. Hopefully without pulling it out. So